Good day, everybody. This is Carrie Getz, and welcome to another edition of our podcast talking about careers for women, trades, and vets in tech and data centers. Today, we are lucky enough to have Billie Haggard here with Aligned Energy, who, believe it or not, even though they say Aligned Energy, is actually a data center builder as part of their practice or part of their company. So, Billie, tell us a little bit about Aligned, what you do there, and how you got in this industry.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I really enjoy listening to your podcast, especially anything around attracting talent to the data center industry. As you know, and as many of your speakers have alluded to, that we really are challenged with bringing in really quality people into the data center field. My journey started after 13 years in the military. I got out, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, and I went to a hiring conference for military veterans. And during that conference, I thought, okay, I'm only qualified to operate nuclear power plants because while serving the Navy, I was a nuclear trained mechanic on submarines. And even though I was responsible for things such as operating, maintaining, troubleshooting the nuclear power plant, I also developed other skills around training programs and safety and quality assurance. And really, probably my favorite part of the military and what I was doing in the military was developing future nuclear plant operators. 5 of my 13 years in the Navy was as a nuclear plant instructor. And what I found out is all those skills and everything that I learned in the military directly transferred into what we see now as a data center operator. So like I said, when I got out in 2000, went to the hiring conference, I went and was interviewing with glass companies that were looking for maintenance supervisors, cement companies that wanted quality assurance inspectors. Every type of manufacturing out there was looking for maintenance technicians. And ironically, I found that I was qualified to do every one of these jobs. And none of them had anything to do with nuclear power. And fortunately for me, someone got up and started talking about data centers. And I actually went to the company and said, I don't care if I have to sweep floors for your company. I want to come and work with you and explore what's going on in data centers. And been doing that for 21 years. So right now I'm serving, like you said, as the senior vice president and the safety officer for Aligned. And, Aligned is probably the fastest growing data center company in the United States. And along with managing, critical operations and on-site personnel, I'm responsible for the corporate safety program, customer service, and developing systems to make sure that we're operating our data center very efficient.
Awesome. Well, let's start off by saying thank you for your service. I'm a veteran liaison officer with the Infrastructure Masons, and the veteran community is one community that just so parallels what goes on in the data center industry, and being able to bring back veterans that have provided service to this country and give them great jobs, I think is just one of the best parts of this industry as a whole. I'm married to a vet. So yeah, thank you for your service. And let's talk a little bit about some of the parallels between what you did in the military and kind of how it translates. I know that you said you looked at a lot of those jobs and found out you were qualified to do a bunch of them, even though you came from the nuclear side. But talk about some of the parallels and kind of how your military life really transitioned into what you're doing.
Well, I like to tell people that, the reason why nuclear trained people do really well in the data center is because, like a nuclear reactor on a submarine, neither can go down. So the data center can't go down, neither can the nuclear reactor. And, one of the stories that I have from the Navy was we were up underneath the ice at the North Pole. And as you can imagine, it's 10 to 20 feet thick. And if we needed to get up, we couldn't. But we had the nuclear reactor go down. And because of the training that we received around how to handle difficult situations, of course, we had process and procedures written on how to get the reactor back up. And then we had levels of leadership and expertise with the entire team, that allowed us to handle the situation, recover the reactor, and make sure that we continued our mission on that submarine. And it's the same thing with the data center. Okay, we come to work every day and there's electrical and mechanical systems that support these data centers. And we have customers that, if they go down, lose electrical power or cooling, it could cost them millions of dollars a minute. And so when it goes down, it's really a really bad day for everyone. But having the same philosophy around, do we have well-trained people? Do we have process and procedures? Do we have the management team that could actually support and bring the data center back up? And something that I brought over from the military that works really well in the data center is the training programs around qualifications. It typically takes about 6 months, even with a Navy nuclear trained person, bring them to the data center to train them and qualify them to be able to safely operate a data center. And then additionally, we throw some things in there like I call them a drill, where I'll say, okay, we've had this failed component, and let's see how you think and react and do the procedures operate well. So for me, I'm still running a nuclear reactor while I'm running a data center.
That's a great way to put it. And true, I would say really in the data center industry as a whole, there is a team of people that makes everything go. And I think we've really seen that through COVID, if nowhere else, for a couple things. One, data center capacity has done nothing but go up with work from home, remote work, remote schooling, telehealth, telemedicine, and all of those systems, the Zooms, the Teams, everything that makes all this stuff talk and work. I think the data center industry has really stepped up to make that work, but also just as outreach to students and communities to try to get that compute closer to them. And we hear a lot of talk nowadays about edge data centers and how those data centers are going to be in every community. And I think that's really part of where we can do such a great job with veterans, bringing them in, because these jobs are literally going to be in every city, everywhere. And so they might be on a smaller level, but still the same philosophy, the same, it's got to be up, and there's a team that's going to support you and a team that's going to train you. And so from Align's perspective, I know you guys are doing some things to kind of grow your own talent. So talk maybe about how that's kind of working in your organization and how you're finding veterans to bring into the fold.
Well, we started talking about, my background is I'm an ex-Navy nuclear trained sailor, but I look at service people in general. And what they bring to the company is a technical aptitude. Okay, they have an ability to learn. We know that they can handle stressful situations and multitask. And, they're driven to complete tasks. Something that's kind of unique that people may not think about, but they can both lead and follow depending on the situation. So knowing that we have a vast pool of potential employees that have all these skill sets, and they may not know what an RPP or PDU or UPS is in the data center world.
But or any of our other 1,200 acronyms, right?
It is. But they can quickly transition out of the military because they have all that, the soft skills and the technical skills behind it. And they can come in and with a little bit of investment by companies like Aligned, okay, to put forth training programs and development, we can develop great employees that are very valuable in the data center. And like I said, we talked a little bit about, qualification program. I tailored it exactly the way I learned it in the military. You take a piece of equipment and you teach them all the theory and operation behind that piece of equipment. It's more classroom training. Then you say, okay, this is how you start it. Here's how you shut it down. Here's what you do if it goes in an alarm. And you actually build a service member or anybody from the trades or somebody coming straight out of the college. You take them step by step on how that equipment operates. And then once they learn the equipment, you say, okay, this equipment is part of a system. How does the system operate? Okay. And then you walk them through each of the steps. And like I said, it takes about 6 months. And then once they have the skills, then you hone the skills. You do drills and you do advanced training. And you're creating, one of the proudest moments of my career is I looked through and I said, there's dozens of people that started out as technicians with me that are now directors, VP, senior vice president, C-level at other data center companies. Okay. So the program works. And it's a military program that got transitioned into the data center world.
The data centers are a very procedural occupation anyway. And so I think that's part of the reason that the data center industry really looks to veterans, because they get following procedure and they understand kind of cause and effect, and they're really good at working in a team. And so all of that just lends itself so well.
And I would add on that, it's awesome that, we have people that follow process and procedures, but having a technical aptitude, having some curiosity in their knowledge levels allows people to fill in where you don't have process and procedures. It's easy to say, okay, I'm going to train on every situation that could possibly occur with a piece of mechanical equipment. And the one I haven't thought about is the one I'm going to have.
Of course.
So having a team of people that can really think about how the systems operate and utilize the procedures, but also don't look at it as just a checkbox. And as long as I just follow the checkbox, I'm good.
And think well on their feet. That's a huge thing, just to be able to realize that it is the one thing that you haven't been trained on, and where do you ask and where do you go and how do you sort that out? And I guess the other cool thing in this industry too, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast, is if you start in a job and you're not thrilled with it, there are so many jobs that you don't even have to leave the industry. You don't have to leave the company you're with. There's all kinds of other things that are adjacent that might be right up your alley. So, if you don't love what you're doing first, look to the left, look to the right. There's something else you can do.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly support that also. I had some programs in the past where I took service members into our security group. And while they're in the security group, trained them to be maintenance technicians. And to be able to take people and put them into as maintenance techs and in their future facility operators, it gives them a career path that is non-ending. Once you're into operations, I've seen people go into sales engineering, going into executive leadership programs, sales, anything that has to do with engineering and operation of data centers.
Yeah, it definitely translates well. And I would say this too. We talk about diversity a lot in this industry. It's kind of the buzzword of the day, right? Diversity and inclusion and equity and all that kind of stuff. And to me, a big part of diversity is bringing on people that think in different ways. And so, if everybody is trained exactly the same way out of exactly the same textbook, that's all you're going to get. And if you bring in people with different methodologies that have kind of figured out how to scrap their way through things and come up through some trial and error and some of those kind of things, and have that different thought process, that could be absolutely invaluable for innovation. It can be valuable for downtime or those oh no moments, right? That oh no second when it happens. And so I think that's really critical as we start thinking of the veterans as a community. I mean, they're a massively diverse bunch, right?
Definitely. I tell my team, I'm trying to go to the Super Bowl. And every day we come to work and we put people together we're not going to hire all quarterbacks. Okay. I pull people from the service industry. I pull people from the electrical and mechanical trades, engineering support from our vendors, to where I amass a group of people that can handle any situation. Then we take those skills and we cross-train. We raise the entire group to a much higher level than they would have been on their own. And that's how you get great data center operators.
Yeah, and that cross-training is just, not only is it critical for the data center operations and just making sure that you have intelligent hands most places when you need them, but also as for career development, you broaden somebody's skill and you radiate their knowledge throughout the industry, which, is a great way to take care of your people too.
Yes, and I know HR generally doesn't like me saying this, but I look at if I hire a great person coming into my group and train them the way that I want to train them and give them the experiences that they get, there's a chance that 3 years from now, they're going to go set up their own program at another company. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Okay, I would like to retain them and continue developing that skill, but I'm not afraid to make sure that I'm hiring really quality people that's going to continue growing, whether it's with Aligned or it's with another company.
Well, that's part of the pay it forward that this industry is so good at. There's no better feeling than knowing that you're training your replacement or somebody that could take over for you, or have somebody move out from under you into the same position or even a better position somewhere else, and know that you had part in their professional development and, really just taking a stake in their livelihood and getting to know people personally and bringing them along. I think that's just a great thing to be able to do. And there's a lot of people in this industry that are really, really good at that. And it is kind of a tight-knit industry. Kind of everybody knows everybody. We've known each other for on and off over the years, but there are a lot of people that really work to help people along. And, there's kind of this misnomer that you have to have a college degree. And we talk about that a lot here too, that there's a million paths to knowledge. And before colleges, people went to college to be a doctor, a lawyer, and kind of those things. But there were so many people that got trained on the job and learned as part of that process, even country doctors who, somebody ended up being a doctor because they had an interest and they were in a small town and there was no college around. They learned how to do that. So I think there's room for everybody. And in this industry, if you start from the trades and work forward, if it wasn't for the trades, none of us would have a job because nothing would get built. And so, there's definitely room for everybody. And coming from the military, there's a lot of people with skills that fit in very well in the trades on the construction side, security, operations, like you were talking about, all the way through to the day-to-day operations and everything, all those you mentioned, all the way through to sales.
I tell my team, what's really nice about having the group of people that we have is no one's afraid of sharing their information. And every day we have opportunities to learn. For example, you have a generator tech that comes out quarterly to perform maintenance on the data center. Okay, that generator tech does the same thing week after week. Okay, but my team's job is to stand out and make sure that they don't affect any other infrastructure, but take the opportunity to say, what will happen if I touch that button? Why are you doing that maintenance a certain way? You got a captive audience trainer at your disposal every day when a technician shows up at the site. And just being able to share that information and go back and share it with the team. That is what I really enjoy about this entire data center industry. Is it's not about keeping knowledge, it's about sharing knowledge.
That's a great way to put it. Great way to put it. And there is no shortage of people that will do that for sure on all parts of this industry. So tell us outside of developing your folks, tell us other cool things about Aligned and how do you guys differentiate yourselves from some of the other data center operators out there? What's the claim to fame in Aligned and how fast you guys are growing?
I would definitely say our technology, first and foremost. I mean, in various jobs that I've held, part of my job is go and do site selection. And if you look at 20 data centers in a day, they all look the same. Okay, they have very similar electrical infrastructure. They've got raised floor and they've got cracks and crays around the computer room. But when you first walk into Line Data Center, what catches you is like, this is different. It looks different. Then you start talking about efficiency. Okay. You go to any other data center operator and they talk about the electrical topology and the systems. You come to Line and we're talking about our mechanical systems, sustainability, and efficiency of our plant. And that's completely different. The other thing I think is really important, we are a data center builder and operator. Some of our competitors talk about their real estate companies. And for me, it's a different level of operations, meaning I have employees that come to work every day and this company is their future, is their livelihood. It's all they think about. I have guys that are so dedicated that I have to force them to leave their laptops at work so they can actually enjoy their time off. So I think that's what makes it special is our technology, our strive for efficiency and sustainability, and really investing in developing our people. And that's what we hear from our customers is operations is the reason why they're with our company.
Sustainability has kind of creeped into conversations here a little bit, but I think certainly it is at the forefront of every conversation in this industry right now, just because compute is not going anywhere. And when we add IoT and all this other stuff, we're going to have more and more data centers in more and more places. And certainly, I read somewhere that over COVID, we advanced 3 years in a 3-month period of time in this industry, which is kind of mind-boggling when you think of all the bits and pieces and parts that fly around. But let's talk a little bit about the sustainability angle and what you guys are doing with that, because I think sustainability is a great career option for some of these young folks that really, really care about the environment and trying to leave a better place than we started with. So tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing on that side.
When I first got in this industry, we weren't even talking about efficiency 20 years ago. And then suddenly it's like, okay, well, maybe we need to be a little bit more efficient with our electrical systems. And then, when you talk about, power utilization, we talked about 2 times the power is needed for mechanical systems for every watt that we issue to a customer. Now it's to the point to where it's down to, 1.15. And for people that are coming in this industry, being able to support systems that just 20 years ago was unheard of, and driving low water usage and driving the fact that we can use wind farms and solar panels and that we're operating 24/7. So power plants that are idle between 5 p.m. and 8 in the morning are able to utilize the power that they have to support data centers. So I think every initiative that we're looking at from a sustainability program is being driven out of data centers.
So let's talk about just because it just happened and it's a fun topic, the ice storms in Texas. How did you guys fare? I know here in Mississippi, I had about 4 inches of ice on the water behind the house, which is unheard of in the South. I was raised up north. I didn't miss it when I left it. I didn't like it here, but talk about, we hear all these things about some people were paying $19,000 a kilowatt hour for power in Texas, and talk about how you guys fared and what did the storm do for you guys?
Well, it was a long week. I can honestly say, because I was pulling a 12-hour shift for a week. And when we seen that we were going to have some winter weather advisory, we started communicating with our utility provider. And they were already predicting that power levels were going to be fluctuating greatly because it was going to be beyond the capability of the grid. And then they talked a little bit about the cost of power. And so Sunday morning, we went ahead and transferred the site to generator, communicated with our customers that we were going to be very proactive because just taking power hits on the system really cycles our equipment and could lead to damage. And so we went proactively to generate Sunday morning. And of course, the event occurred Monday morning. And there were some people that was caught off guard, but we run without issue all the way to Friday night. And so when we look at our cost per kilowatt, during this time, it's going to be significantly lower than the $9 a kilowatt hour that some of our customers are seeing.
So that brings up kind of the microgrid concept and being able to run on backup power, being able to run autonomously of the grid.
So typically we don't provide power to the grid, but kind of ironically, while this was occurring in Texas, our generators in Arizona, our excess capacity was put back to the grid to be able to offload the grid in Texas. So we were able to do both. We supported our own loads here in Plano, and then we additionally gave up an additional capacity to put on the grid to help stabilize Texas.
I was on a webcast yesterday. We were talking about smart cities and edge data centers, and Doug Young from up in Nebraska, apparently Nebraska is on the same grid as Texas. And he said they had a 12-hour rolling outage there in Nebraska to try to alleviate some of the congestion on the grid. But talking about microgrids and some of the advantages that they bring, certainly besides backup power, but like you said, in Arizona, being able to feed the grid and offset some of that load, I think this is the kind of innovation that really is moving our entire industry forward and into some crazy new directions. So those young electrical engineers out there studying and thinking about really cool things to do, it's great to go get a tour of a data center and look and see how they operate and run. And most data center operators are really, really gracious about, giving people tours and letting people really see what that big nondescript building in the middle of nowhere does, right?
Right.
And I think this industry for a long time, it was kind of nobody wanted to know where the data centers were because, it was a risk factor. And so we kind of hurt ourselves in the industry because a lot of people really didn't go into data center careers because what's a data center? And so people just kind of take for granted when you pick up your phone, the thing is there. And I don't think they realize how much really goes into making sure that those things stay up and running and the maintenance is done and all that kind of good stuff to make it happen.
And I certainly will speak for Aligned, and I would be more than happy to give tours to prospective tech schools, military, any of the trades that are thinking about getting into data centers. I would encourage anyone to explore that avenue because, you talked about it several times, but it is a great career to get into. It is a career that you can raise your family, that you can support your family. Me being in this industry for 20 years, every day I come to work and it's a challenge. I'm able to utilize every faculty I have from mentally, physically to solve problems, to look for better ways of doing things, to figure out ways to be more efficient. I would definitely support that, and certainly with any of our data centers.
Yeah, this industry absolutely encourages innovation, and some of the most amazing things have come out of people just sitting around drawing stuff on cocktail napkins.
I've done that on many occasions.
So tell everybody that's listening exactly where the Aligned data centers are so they know what cities, maybe if they happen to be in those cities, they can go take a look.
Well, we have a campus in Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Ashburn, Virginia, and Plano, Texas. And hopefully in the near future, you'll see some more flags planted on the map of the U.S.
Awesome. So I guess we're running close to time here, but if you wanted to leave folks with some parting words of wisdom, an outreach message to the vets, and certainly this is going to be shared with a lot of the TAPs that are out there as well, what would you say to folks?
For veterans that are looking to get into a new career, a very challenging career, I would definitely encourage them to look at data centers and just do a little bit of homework because you're not going to have the same lexicon or understand some of the things that are being asked you from like RPPs and UPSs and things like that. And then, if you really want something that's challenging you every day, if you want to be in part of something that's evolving and be on the forefront of things such as sustainability or energy efficiency, you should definitely look at data center as a career. for people who are looking to hire veterans, they're probably not going to hit every checkbox that you have in your questionnaire that's supporting your job description. Put some value behind things such as ability to learn anything and multitask and handle stressful situations, and then invest in training programs that will fill in the areas in between. And what you'll get out of it is you will get a great employee that's probably going to be with you for a very long time.
Well, and to be fair, and to that exact point, there's so many HR people out there listening that, they require a degree first. They don't value skills. They don't value time in a job, whether it's a related job or not. And I think that's one of the things that's really stifling this industry is that we're not pulling from those skill sets. And in many cases, I've seen where they would rather hire somebody with a degree that has nothing to do with technology than somebody that's been working as a veteran in a very technical role. And they're going to have to train both of them anyway. So why not go with the one that enjoys technology and has a technical aptitude and take a shot and just give somebody a chance?
And one of the things they don't consider is, for nuclear trained personnel, in 6 months' time, they go through the equivalent of 2 years of college right off the bat. I don't think there's any school out there that could train you to handle a situation like I described as, the nuclear reactor going down underneath the ice, knowing that you can't get to the surface. You can't train for that. And we have situations in data centers where, equipment fails or things happen, and having people that can think on their feet and come up with such great ideas and save the day, that is much more important than having a piece of paper.
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, Billie, my friend, it's been great chatting with you. And for everybody that's listening, I will put Billie's contact information and the links to Aligned. But for those of you that are listening, Billie, why don't you tell them the Aligned Data Center site and what they can do to get in contact with you for those that are driving in a car or riding and not reading the description right now?
Okay, you can certainly go to alignedenergy.com and see any of the jobs that we have open. But you can certainly contact me directly. I'm on LinkedIn, Billie Haggard, or you can contact me at billiehaggard@alignedenergy.com. And I'd be happy to talk to you about what career opportunities are available, or set up some time that maybe you could tour a data center. But I also want to, we talked about veterans in this, but I want to stress that, there's a lot of people in the trades, electricians and mechanics that may want to try something new and be able to bring their skills that they've learned along the way. Graduates of tech schools and engineers. We're not against engineers either, because we need all types of people with all types of skills to really be great data center operators and fill some of the positions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And for those of you listening, we hope you found this insightful. And we look forward to hosting you on another edition of this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.